The camera pans across a luxury restaurant. Crystal chandeliers glitter above a crowd of wealthy elites. At one table, an arrogant billionaire, Ethan Cole, snaps his fingers at a young waitress, Lena, demanding faster service. She's overworked, trembling, and clearly exhausted, but she remains polite. When Ethan's expensive watch gets splashed with a few drops of coffee, his temper explodes. He humiliates Lena in front of everyone, calling her unprofessional and replaceable. Lena, finally standing up for herself, replies calmly, "Respect isn't bought, sir. It's earned." The restaurant goes silent. Ethan's ego ignites. He fires her on the spot. What neither of them knows is that this single moment will change both of their lives forever. Because Ethan's powerful mother, the CEO of his own company, will soon meet that same waitress and see something in her that her arrogant son has long forgotten: integrity, courage, and heart. The sound of soft jazz filled the air, mingling with the gentle clinking of wine glasses and silver cutlery. It was a Friday night at the Aurelia, the city's most exclusive restaurant, a place where chandeliers dripped gold and laughter echoed from tables filled with millionaires and executives. Behind all that glitter, though, was the quiet chaos of the staff. Waiters darting between tables, chefs shouting from the kitchen, and at the center of it all, a young waitress named Lena Carter. She was 26, kind eyes, tired smile. Her uniform was spotless, though her shoes were worn at the edges. Every move she made carried the grace of someone used to hard work and little rest. Lena wasn't just serving tables. She was carrying dreams, working double shifts to support her younger sister's college education after their parents passed away. Every tip, every long night, it all mattered. That evening, as the dinner rush began to calm, a black luxury car glided to a stop outside the restaurant. From it stepped Ethan Cole, the billionaire heir to the Cole Group empire. Tall, immaculately dressed, with a tailored navy suit and a wristwatch worth more than most people's yearly income. He was accompanied by a group of high-profile investors, all laughing too loudly, all eager to impress him. Ethan carried himself like he owned the room, because in many ways, he did. When he entered, the manager nearly tripped over himself, rushing to greet him. "Mr. Cole, what an honor, sir. Your table is ready." Ethan barely acknowledged him. His piercing blue eyes scanned the restaurant with practiced boredom. He snapped his fingers once. "Can someone get me a drink already?" Lena approached with calm professionalism, even though she could feel the tension in the air. "Good evening, sir. Would you like to start with something from the bar?" Ethan didn't look at her. "I said a drink, not an interview." Laughter erupted from his table. Lena swallowed hard, forcing a smile. She noted his preference, hurried to the bar, and returned moments later with a tray, his favorite scotch on ice. As she carefully placed the glass in front of him, someone at the table cracked a joke, bumping her elbow slightly. The glass tipped. A few drops of amber liquid splashed onto Ethan's sleeve and his watch. The laughter stopped instantly. Ethan's jaw clenched. He looked down at his wrist, then slowly up at Lena. "Do you have any idea," he said coldly, "how much this watch costs?" Lena stammered, I'm so sorry, sir. It was an accident." "An accident?" he interrupted, his voice cutting through the air like a blade. "Do you think I care about your excuses? You just ruined a timepiece worth more than your entire life savings." A few of the guests exchanged uneasy looks. One of them tried to lighten the moment. "Come on, Ethan. It's just a few drops." But Ethan wasn't done. He leaned forward, his tone dripping with contempt. "People like you," he said, "never learn how to take responsibility. You mess up, you apologize, and then you do it again. I don't tolerate incompetence." Lena's hands trembled. She could feel eyes on her. Guests, co-workers, the manager. Her heart pounded in her chest. "Sir, I didn't mean—" "Enough!" Ethan barked. "You're done here. Fired. Get out." The restaurant fell silent. Even the music seemed to fade. For a moment, Lena stood frozen, the weight of his words pressing down on her. Tears threatened to fall, but she blinked them back. Slowly, she straightened her shoulders. "Mr. Cole," she said softly, voice shaking but firm. "You're right. I made a mistake, but at least I treat people with respect when they do." A gasp rippled across the room. Ethan's eyes flared. "What did you just say?" Lena met his gaze, her voice steady now. "Respect isn't bought, sir. It's earned. And right now, you've lost mine." The words hung in the air like a strike of thunder. For the first time, Ethan didn't have an immediate comeback. His pride stung, his authority challenged, and in front of witnesses. "Get out," he hissed. "Now!" Lena set down her apron slowly, her hands trembling slightly, and walked out through the crowd of stunned patrons. Not a single person stopped her. Outside, the night air hit her face, cool and sharp. She exhaled shakily, eyes welling up at last. She had lost her job, her income, but not her dignity. And deep down, she knew one thing for sure. She would never let a man like Ethan Cole decide her worth again. As she disappeared into the night, Ethan returned to his drink, pretending to be unfazed. But something about the way she looked at him, that unwavering, fearless stare, stayed with him long after she was gone. He didn't know it yet, but the girl he just humiliated was about to walk back into his life and into his company in a way he'd never imagined. The next few days passed in a blur for Lena Carter. Each morning, she woke up earlier than usual, scrolling through her phone for job listings that never seemed to match her experience. Her bank balance dwindled, and the rent deadline loomed closer. She spent the nights thinking about that moment at the restaurant, the humiliation, the sting of his words, and yet the strange pride she'd felt for standing up for herself. She didn't know it yet, but somewhere across the city, her story was about to take a very unexpected turn. In a corner office high above the city skyline sat Victoria Cole, Ethan's mother and the real power behind the Cole Group. Elegant, calm and commanding, Victoria was a woman whose presence carried quiet authority. Where Ethan had inherited wealth and arrogance, she had earned every ounce of her success through wisdom, resilience and empathy. Her company, Cole Innovations, had grown from a small engineering firm into one of the largest corporate empires in the country. But lately, she'd noticed something troubling. The company was losing its soul. Reports of internal conflicts, employee resignations, and her son's reckless decisions were piling up on her desk. Victoria sighed, removing her glasses. "Ethan may understand business," she murmured, "but he's forgotten how to understand people." That evening, she decided to visit one of the Cole Group's luxury restaurants, the Aurelia, for an unannounced inspection. When Victoria arrived, she found the restaurant unusually quiet. The manager seemed nervous, the staff hesitant. As she walked through the dining area, she noticed something strange. A young woman helping to organize dishes even though she wasn't in uniform. The woman was Lena. After being fired, Lena had returned just to help a struggling friend finish her shift. She wasn't being paid. She simply couldn't stand seeing the others overwhelmed. Victoria observed quietly for a moment. Lena moved swiftly, helping guests, cleaning spills, and even comforting a crying trainee with gentle reassurance. When the rush calmed, Victoria approached her. "You're not on staff here, are you?" she asked softly. Lena froze, startled. "No, Mom, I used to work here. I'm just helping out." Victoria smiled faintly. Not many people would do that after being fired. Lena's expression faltered, but she forced a polite smile. "Well, it's not their fault. Everyone's under pressure. I can't blame them." There was something in her tone. Calm, forgiving, but filled with quiet strength. Victoria tilted her head. "What made you leave?" Lena hesitated, not wanting to complain. "Let's just say someone powerful lost their temper," Victoria gave a knowing look. Ah, one of those people who believe money gives them permission to forget their manners. Lena looked surprised, and then nodded slowly. Exactly that. Victoria invited her to sit for a moment. They talked about life, work, dreams. Lena spoke honestly about her sister, about juggling jobs, and her hope of finding an office position one day, somewhere she could grow, learn, and build stability. There was no bitterness in her voice, only quiet determination. Victoria found herself deeply impressed. "You've got a rare quality," she said finally. "You handle pressure with grace. That's something even executives struggle to do." Lena smiled humbly. "I've had a lot of practice, I guess." Before leaving, Victoria handed her a small, sleek business card with only her initials, VC, and an email. "If you ever need a new start," she said, "write to this address. Opportunities appear when least expected." Lena looked down at the card, puzzled but grateful. "Thank you, Mom, but I didn't catch your full name." Victoria's lips curved slightly. "You will. Soon." She turned and walked out, her heels clicking softly against the marble floor, leaving Lena holding the card like a strange piece of fate. A week later, Lena sat in her tiny apartment, typing another job application that would probably go unanswered. Her phone buzzed, a new message. Subject: employment offer from VC, coalinnovations.com. "Dear Ms. Carter, we were impressed by your professionalism and character. You have been selected for a confidential position as assistant to the new CEO of Coal Innovations. Please report to headquarters Monday at 8 a.m. Lena blinked at the screen in disbelief. Coal Innovations, assistant to the CEO. Her heart pounded. This had to be a mistake. But when she reread the message, she saw the signature at the bottom. Victoria Coal, Chief Executive Officer, Lena's breath caught. The woman from the restaurant. Ethan's mother. Monday morning arrived like a dream. Lena stood in front of the towering Coal Innovations headquarters, a glass fortress stretching into the clouds. She clutched her small purse tightly, wearing her best professional outfit, her heart racing between excitement and fear. As she entered the lobby, an HR representative smiled and handed her a badge. "Welcome, Ms. Carter. The CEO's son is expecting you." Lena's eyes widened slightly. "The CEO's son?" The elevator doors closed around her with a soft ding. Her reflection stared back, nervous, determined, unaware that she was about to step into a room with the very man who had once thrown her out of his restaurant. Her fingers trembled slightly as the elevator rose higher and higher. When the doors opened, the world changed again. Behind the sleek mahogany desk sat Ethan Cole, the man who fired her. And this time, she wasn't a waitress. She was his new assistant. The elevator doors slid open with a soft hum. Lena stepped into the CEO's office, sleek, minimalist, and imposing, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. Every detail spoke of wealth, power, and control. Her pulse quickened. She clutched the small notepad her motherly mentor, Victoria, had suggested she carry, reminding herself to remain professional. And then she froze. Across the room, sitting behind a polished mahogany desk, was Ethan Cole. He looked up from a pile of reports and froze as well, blue eyes locking onto hers, sharp and piercing, full of disbelief. For a moment, the world stopped. Ethan's jaw tightened. His mind raced. This can't be real. She's the waitress from the Aurelia. Lena swallowed hard, keeping her posture straight, her hands clasped in front of her. She refused to let him see fear. "Yes," she said evenly, her voice steady. "I'm Ms. Carter. I'm here as the new assistant to the CEO." Ethan's eyebrows shot up. "Wait, what?" Lena repeated, maintaining calm. "Your mother hired me." The office was silent. The tension was almost palpable. The air seemed to thicken around them like a storm about to break. Ethan's face darkened with a mixture of shock, anger, and embarrassment. He opened his mouth, ready to bark a command, but no words came. Lena remained composed, projecting professionalism with every fiber of her being. She was no longer the timid waitress. She was poised, prepared, and unwavering. Ethan tried to regain control, his voice dripping with authority. "You work for me." "Yes," Lena replied calmly. "I report to the CEO." She emphasized the last word with subtle strength. The corner of Ethan's mouth twitched. He felt a flicker of humiliation and a growing realization that his mother had orchestrated this intentionally. "You must be joking," he said, leaning back in his chair, trying to mask his shock with arrogance. Lena raised an eyebrow, unflinching. "Your mother isn't joking. I start today. Let's get to work." Her calm authority unsettled him. The arrogance he wielded like a weapon at the restaurant now seemed fragile. Over the next few hours, Ethan tried everything to regain dominance. He assigned her impossible tasks, expecting her to fail. He sneered at her suggestions, mocking her intelligence. He tested her patience with endless interruptions and unreasonable demands. But Lena handled every challenge with quiet efficiency, poise, and intelligence. Each time she calmly solved a problem, Ethan felt the sting of defeat in a way he had never experienced before. In front of employees, she remained polite, professional, and unwavering. Behind the desk, she was no longer a subordinate to insult. She was a force to respect. By the end of the day, Ethan's frustration began to change. Where he had once felt control, he now felt something unfamiliar. Admiration tinged with regret. He caught himself watching Lena as she reorganized schedules with precision. He noticed how she treated the office staff with respect, even when they made mistakes. He realized for the first time that leadership was more than barking orders. It required patience, respect, and intelligence. For Lena, this was more than a job. It was a chance to prove her worth, not just to Ethan, but to herself. Every step, every task, every challenge was a statement. I am more than what you think. I am more than what anyone thinks. As Lena prepared to leave the office at the end of the day, Ethan finally spoke. His voice was low, uncharacteristically hesitant. "Tomorrow. Don't think you'll just get by with charm and luck." Lena turned, a small, confident smile on her lips. "I'm not here for luck. I'm here to work." Ethan blinked. For the first time, he realized something crucial. This woman was not intimidated by him, and she never would be. The camera pans to Victoria, watching from a discreet camera feed in her office, smiling faintly. Her plan was unfolding perfectly. The arrogant billionaire was about to learn humility, respect, and the value of heart, all from the woman he thought he had destroyed. And so began the game of transformation, where the arrogant billionaire and the brave assistant would change each other's lives forever. The days turned into weeks, and the office, once a battlefield of tension, began to subtly shift. Lena was no longer the timid young woman who had been humiliated at a restaurant. She was composed, efficient, and increasingly indispensable. Each morning, Lena arrived early, checking emails, organizing meetings, and anticipating problems before they arose. Ethan, meanwhile, watched from his corner of the office with mounting frustration. He tried everything he knew to test her limits. He assigned impossible deadlines. He intentionally left her out of crucial meetings. He even made snide remarks in front of colleagues, hoping to undermine her confidence. And every single time, Lena handled it flawlessly, calmly, professionally, and with a quiet dignity that left everyone, including Ethan, astonished. During one particularly tense meeting, an important financial report was about to be sent to a major investor. Ethan, distracted and overconfident, failed to notice a critical error. Lena caught it just in time. "Sir," she said softly but firmly, pointing to the mistake, "if we send this as is, it could cost the company millions." The room went silent. Ethan blinked. For a moment he wanted to argue, to assert his authority. But then he realized she was right. He nodded curtly, a mix of relief and grudging admiration washing over him. "Good work," he said. His voice was quiet, almost human. The more Ethan tried to control Lena, the more he noticed her inner strength. She didn't react out of fear or anger. She didn't compete for attention or authority. She simply exhibited competence, empathy, and resilience, qualities he had never appreciated before. He began to see the truth. Wealth and power could command compliance, but respect was earned through integrity and skill. Slowly, Ethan started changing. He began listening when she spoke. He sought her opinion on company decisions. He even admitted privately that he had underestimated her. The transformation wasn't immediate. There were moments of tension, pride clashes, and silent battles. But Lena's influence was undeniable. She became not just an assistant, but a mentor in humility, forcing Ethan to confront his arrogance. Outside of work, Ethan noticed subtle changes in himself. He began treating employees with more respect. He started valuing patience over instant gratification. He reflected on past mistakes, including the incident at the restaurant, realizing how poorly he had treated people like Lena. One afternoon, while reviewing a company strategy report, he found himself looking up and saying almost involuntarily, "Lena, thank you. You've made me see things I never noticed before." For the first time, his words weren't laced with ego or authority. They carried sincerity. Lena, ever professional, smiled faintly. "I'm just doing my job, sir. That's all." But Ethan knew it was more than that. She was reshaping him, quietly, relentlessly, and profoundly. The final turning point came during a major company presentation. An investor meeting went horribly wrong due to miscommunication among Ethan's team. Panic spread through the room. Lena, calm and decisive, stepped in. She organized the team, clarified the errors, and saved the presentation. By the end, the investors were impressed, and Ethan's reputation remained intact, all because of Lena. After the meeting, Ethan finally confronted her privately. "I don't know how to thank you. You saved everything today." Lena looked at him, steady and composed. "No thanks needed, sir. Just do better. Lead better." It was a lesson in humility. Ethan realized that leadership wasn't about ego. It was about courage, respect, and trust. Weeks turned into months. The arrogant billionaire was no longer the same man who had fired a waitress in a fit of rage. He had grown, matured, and learned the value of heart and integrity, all through the influence of a woman he once underestimated. For Lena, it was also a personal triumph. She had proven her worth, gained respect, and quietly shifted the dynamics of a corporate empire. She had risen not by seeking revenge, but by embodying strength, intelligence, and professionalism. The office, once a place of tension, was now a space of mutual respect. And in the quiet moments between tasks, Ethan could no longer ignore the admiration and something deeper that had begun to grow in his heart for the woman who had changed everything. The morning sun poured through the towering glass windows of Cole Innovations, illuminating the office floor with a golden glow. For the first time in months, the office felt calm, almost peaceful. Employees moved with purpose, not fear. Meetings proceeded with clarity and respect. And in the center of it all sat Ethan Cole, no longer the arrogant billionaire who had fired a young waitress months ago. Ethan stared out over the city, his thoughts heavy. He thought back to that night at the Aurelia, Lena standing tall despite humiliation, her unwavering courage shining brighter than any chandelier in the restaurant. He realized, painfully, how wrong he had been. His arrogance had cost him respect. His impulsive anger had undermined his authority. And in firing Lena, he had dismissed true talent, integrity, and heart. His mother's plan had worked flawlessly. Victoria had always believed that character mattered more than wealth or influence. And now, Ethan understood her wisdom in a way he never had before. Later that day, Ethan summoned Lena to his office. She entered confidently, her head held high, carrying the same calm grace that had unsettled him from the start. He rose from his desk, clearing his throat. His voice was unsteady, a stark contrast to the booming arrogance of months ago. "Lena, I need to apologize," he said, locking eyes with her, "for everything, for how I treated you at the restaurant, and for doubting you here. I was wrong." Lena studied him silently for a moment, reading the sincerity in his expression. Then she smiled faintly. "Thank you for saying that," she replied softly. "It takes courage to admit when you're wrong." The tension in the room dissolved, replaced by a quiet mutual respect. Ethan continued, "I want you to know, you've changed me. Your professionalism, intelligence, and patience have taught me more than I've learned in years of running this company. You didn't just save meetings or fix mistakes. You reminded me what it means to lead with heart." Lena nodded, feeling the weight of her journey. From a fired waitress to a respected executive assistant, she had proven that true worth is not determined by wealth or status, but by character and perseverance. Ethan's eyes softened. "I don't just want to apologize, I want to make this right. I'd like you to stay with the company permanently, with the position and recognition you deserve." Her lips curved in a genuine smile. "Thank you, sir. I accept, not because I need recognition, but because I believe in the Victoria Cole." Observing from her office via discreet video feed, allowed herself a small smile. Her plan had worked perfectly. Not only had her son learned humility, respect, and the importance of heart, but he had also recognized the power of empowering others. The office was now a place of growth, respect, and mutual inspiration. Employees, once wary of Ethan's arrogance, now saw him as a leader willing to listen, learn, and change. Later that evening, Ethan reflected on the journey that had begun with anger and humiliation. He thought about Lena, the young woman who had walked into his life with quiet courage, never seeking revenge, never demanding acknowledgement. He realized the truth. Power can demand obedience. Authority can enforce rules, but only heart, courage, and integrity inspire respect. Lena, walking past his office on her way home, paused and looked back. Ethan nodded, a subtle gesture of respect and gratitude. In that moment, both understood something profound. Life's true victories are not measured by wealth or status, but by the impact we have on others and the lessons we learn along the way. Weeks later, the company hosted a charity gala supporting women in business and leadership. Lena stood beside Ethan on stage, a quiet yet powerful presence. Ethan gave a speech, his voice steady and sincere. "Sometimes, the people we underestimate are the ones who teach us the most. Today, I am grateful to have learned the true meaning of leadership, integrity, and courage from someone who was once dismissed, but never defeated." The audience erupted in applause. Lena smiled, proud not only of her own journey, but of the man Ethan had become. As the camera panned out, Victoria's voice echoed softly in Ethan's memory. "Character sustains what power cannot." The story ended not with revenge or humiliation, but with growth, respect, and a triumph of heart over arrogance.